Washington for more on the 2016 race. Want to bring in from the Cato Institute and former BB&T Chairman and CEO John Allison. John, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
What's your take on this? Amazing how close these candidates are.
Well, I think what's going on is people want some different politics, and they're almost desperate. I mean, if you look at Donald Trump, he's logically inconsistent. He's a great showman, but I think people are saying we want a different kind of politics. Ironically, you see Bernie Sanders rising, who's a big government guy, but I think a lot of this reflects that people are tired of government. Government's dysfunctional, and they want government out of their lives is the underlying issue.
Well, they want government out of their lives, but do you think they want specifics? I mean, even though we're seeing this close race between Hillary and Donald and now Ben Carson, we haven't had a lot of specifics in terms of policy and solutions, right? I mean, Donald Trump spoke about tax reform and raising taxes on hedge fund managers, cutting taxes on everybody else. But where are and Jeb Bush came out with his tax reform plan. But where are the other specifics in terms of economic reform?
There are very few specifics. It's almost like they want to avoid specifics and talk about concrete issues that are pretty much sensationalized.
Keith?
John, it's Keith McCullough. It's great to get to meet you on air here. I think a lot of people may have heard of your book, The Leadership Crisis, and your cure for it. Can you review maybe how Trump might stand in the face of something like that, or any candidate for that matter? You're very aggressive against Wall Street's bailouts, and I thought that you made a lot of great points that a lot of people don't talk about anymore.
Trump wouldn't do well. You know, my book really talks about a lot about integrity in a kind of comprehensive sense, which means you have a philosophical base for your ideas and you follow up on those ideas. Trump is a deal maker in the sense that you can see his ideas jumping all over the place, and he doesn't have an integrated life view or an integrated set of solutions for problems. So I wouldn't view him as a very effective leader. I think he would be very destructive, frankly, as a leader. Yeah,
you called him logically inconsistent. Do you see anybody on the free market cure? I should have mentioned that part, the most important part. On the free market cure, do you see any candidate who is a big-time free market guy? Or gal?
Well, I think Rand Paul is definitely the free market advocate. He doesn't seem to be as effective a politician as he is effective in his ideas and the integration and consistency of his ideas.
Well, that's interesting that you would say that. I mean, what about somebody like a Carly Fiorina, who's run a company, obviously has talked about capitalism and these kinds of free market policies?
I think she's great, too. I would certainly vote for her among the alternatives that seem to be out there, and she is very free market. Her social agenda is not necessarily consistent with libertarians who believe in limited government both economically and in your social lives, so she's more of a social conservative.
Hey, this is Sandra Smith here. I'm curious your take on the China situation right now. This is obviously becoming a big talking point of the 2016 election as well. But markets certainly watching China closely. Is this going to lead to further troubles here at home?
I think it will. I think, China is a huge economy. It's kind of a mixed economy, and in aspects it's much freer than the United States in many aspects of its economy. On the other hand, there's still a lot of government-run industries, and if you look at the economy, the free market side of China continues to do well, and the government-run side is a disaster. And it's got a big issue. How do you reconcile improving economic freedom with a declining or lack of social freedom? So, the Chinese model is bound to have been tested. You can't sustain the kind of growth rates that they claim to have had for long periods of time, basically with this overriding government influence in the marketplace. And it will impact the U.S. economy. How dramatically is hard to guess, but they are a major trading partner in the United States, and they do have a big impact on the global economy.
John, you expecting the Fed to raise rates Thursday?
I don't know what to expect. I think they should.
You think they should?
I am an advocate that markets should set interest rates. and I don't know that any of us know what the right rate is, but I do know that zero interest rate is too low. I know that in a natural market, rates would be higher, and the level of rates the Fed has set has caused bubbles and miscalculations. Part of what's going on in China relates to the United States being the world's reserve currency. Part of what's going on in Brazil relates to us being the world's reserve currency. I think holding these rates this low really leads to economic distortion.
All right, we'll leave it there. John, good to have you on the show today. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
John Allison joining us there from the Cato Institute, talking about China, the top story embarrassment.